to you to win the National Hill Climb Championship tomorrow?
If I win on Winnats, probably mean more than the most to me, just because the progress over the last month over climbs as short as this one has been quite rapid, and I feel like Winnats is the pinnacle of all of that, and then to take the win on a climb as short as could be 3 or 4 minutes means that I'm better than I expected over 3 minutes and 12 minutes. And a lot of people probably won't know that I've won Hato, but...
Hello. You've won!
Has he got it?
Yes! What a hero!
How does it feel, Mr. British Hill Climb Champ?
Shut up!
What's this hat? What's this?
Watch the previous videos! The hill climbing scene in the UK is like... I don't think there's a scene like it in the world, really, where they're basically just a dedicated time frame at the end of every season where in September, October, there's a lot of these uphill time trials, which in effect that's what they are. And the community is quite strong, covers a lot of age groups. I haven't been hill climbing long. Probably 2018 was my first proper year when I got a taste of it. I realised like just how big it was, especially when you travel up to the north of England. You know, we're in the Peak District now. There's hills around every corner. You could almost, we were saying on the ride today, you could have a hill climb on almost any hill around you. But some events have been around for a long, long time, so they become very prestigious. And lots of riders will travel. Like, longest I've travelled to get to one this year has been 6.5, 7 hours. Yeah, we travel for actually very little race time. It's well worth the travel when you either get a personal best or you win or you see like friends or something, you know. There's always that connection there in some way, shape or form. My season's gone really well. I would say winning the national championship this time round isn't the overriding goal. It wouldn't define the success of my season. Throughout the year I shift through goals and focuses. It's great because like the thing I tend to be quite good at, which is hill climbing, comes at the end of the year, so I can just sharpen my skills. But I wouldn't know off the top of my head how many I've won. I know that every long hill climb I've entered this year, I've won. Following up his success from last year, Ed Laverack. These hill climbs, it's even harder over the longer ones. They're harder to train for, harder to prepare for, but it's made easier when you show up and you put the effort in. So I think there's been 4 or 5, and then the others, mainly this month in October, the shorter ones, I've still performed. I won last weekend on a short one, but I've not, what I say, dominated like I do usually on the longer ones. I would say this season's already been a success when I compare it to last year, where things were derailed by the pandemic. So this year's already been a success because I've been able to race every weekend virtually for the last 2 months. The success comes from the way I've been able to just go from one thing to the next, like do the 10-minute climbs and then like a month later turn to the shorter climbs. And you have to sacrifice certain things, as lots of people have seen my FTP drop, so that I can, you know, become stronger in other areas or be fresher so I can be stronger in other areas. It was hard to do that because it's almost a 2-month process when I decided that I was going to go all in on training for a 3 to 4 minute effort. It's been a fun process, and it's also been, it's been a rewarding one, I'd say.
When it was announced that it was going to be Winnats Pass for this year, was there any point where you thought, I'll take a season off?
I never think if a climb doesn't suit me, I shouldn't be there. To me, it maybe stems back from like when you start in a cycling club and the way you're kind of brought into the sport potentially. You see an awful lot of like the young riders in the pro peloton now who are very good at everything. Like they're like Alejandro Valverde, but at the age of 20. I think it's because they're just so open-minded about being very good at like, you know, cyclocross and then trying the road and like all these different disciplines. And I think hill climbing within itself has got different disciplines. You know, you can't call doing a hill climb on Great Dun Fell, which would be 20 plus minutes potentially, to, you know, doing Winnats Pass, which is 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, obviously for the winner. So it is almost like a different sport in a sense. It's completely different physiology to be able to do, you know, those short efforts. But when you're at the top of the sport, you always have to find something. There's always a challenge, or you always have to find like that next level. And I think the way I see it is, if there's going to be a day where you're going to be in the best condition of your life, it should be on National Championship Day, or it should be on, you know, the finals of the Olympic Games if you're on the track or something. There needs to be like a pinnacle of your year or your 4-year cycle or whatever. So why not invest all of your eggs in one basket to try and be the best person you can be over whatever's given to you? Just because Winnats Pass is 3 to 4 minutes, means that I can actually like put a lot of effort when I wouldn't normally do into trying to be good at 3 minutes. And then you see what you're capable of then, and you know, you don't have to win, because a lot of what we do often gets pigeonholed into like, well, if you didn't win, you didn't succeed. But there's a big difference between like, you know, doing 470, 480 watts for 3 minutes and then doing 520, and you've gained those in like 2 months of consistent training. Now, you can't tell me that that's not a win for yourself. There's only one person who can win on the day, so what's everybody else going to take away from it? There's no point second place sitting there going, well, I lost. Well, if he's done the ride of his life, how can he be disappointed with it?
Day before. Feeling refreshed?
Yeah. 2 and a bit hour ride. 2 hour ride in the rain.
So the day before we do battle, here is the climb. Off to ride Winnats Pass. First impressions, it's cold, it's wet, and there's a headwind. It's nice to come out on a group ride though the day before. It takes my mind off it, but also allows me to share the experience and have a bit of fun with the gang, the back pedal community.
A bike wash. What else are we gonna do? I'll wash my bike.
Is this your B-roll dream?
Yeah.
Good old John. Don't even know if he watches. I know lots of people want to know about the bike weight, so for the majority of the season I've been running a bike that weighs about 7, kilos. I can hear the gasps at the back of the room. But the most for the last 2 weeks it's been a smidge under, and now it's 6.6. I suppose when you think about it, it's not massive, but you know, mentally as well, it's just that little bit more. Local guy Dan has dropped off his wheels for me to use. They save a little bit of weight, not massive, but every little helps. Well, most people on average I would say are riding about 5.5 kilogram bikes, and then there's some crazy builds out there. I know Rebecca well, she's riding a 4.6 kilogram, that's a disc brake bike as well. So fair play to get it that light. I know she's had like some proper custom made parts for it. It's not like, you know, it's not everything you can buy off a shelf then. It's been like really dialed to do what she wanted to do. I try to put that out of my head a little bit, because part of me still, it's the only thing you can control to a certain extent is your own performance. Most of the time, sometimes we focus too much on equipment. Your equipment is very reliable, and it can often just work day after day after day. You know, even, you know, the very expensive stuff that tends to wear a lot quicker sometimes. But it's surprising how much emphasis you put on it, and then how much emphasis they put on, some people put on themselves, and how your body sometimes isn't reliable. And you know, if you don't do everything right, then it will be inconsistent. You know, you could have optimized your bike to the nth degree, but you know, if you've mucked up your sleep for the last week, you could be losing 4 or 5 seconds on the day because of that. You know, even though your bike is the best bike in the world, it still matters though. You know, if you're fighting for a podium spot, I say it now because I know people will be saying it the other side of the camera, you can't be throwing away kilos to other competitors. You know, if you're fighting for the top spot, you just can't. You need every piece of advantage, you know, you can get. Well, brekkie I'm having an almost exploded bottle porridge. I'm gonna drip feed the carbs in today throughout the whole day.
Honey?
Yeah, and a little spoonful of
Black coffee?
brought my no milk, no sugar, no nothing. I'm sweet enough, as I say. I'm also gonna do a bit of research for tomorrow. Wind important. So I'm using a mixture of my windsock and best bike split. So my windsock will give me the wind direction, wind speed, everything else. I'd rather have two things, like compare it. With best bike split, I can kind of, if I could estimate my power to be like say 520, if I increased it to 540, it'll show you like where the biggest percentage gain is. Basically, if I was to do 540 instead of 520 across the whole climb, I'd gain 1.7 seconds in the first 300 meters, but I'd gain 4.5 seconds in the final 500, 400 meters. So it's obviously because that's the steepest section. So that first minute, I should be riding like over 500, but not over 520, and then this basically from there to the top is like 420 or above if I can manage it. So that's what I'm gonna try and do. Doesn't matter about the rain. Lots of people are talking about it, but like you just dress for it, like skin suit.
Warm. It won't change your
skin suit in the rain.
Yeah.
I've got a special custom 3D body scanned skin suit from No Pins. Very kindly made that just over a week ago. Pretty lightweight material and everything, super lightweight. Most people have heard of No Pins now, I suppose, used by most World Tour teams. Even the pad is a triathlon pad because it's a little bit lighter, but it's also narrower, so it's great for climbing really. Yeah, it just means I won't warm up as long, because it just means you get wet, like, because I think some people will be warming up on turbos or rollers, and I'll just be warming up on the roller. So I'm going to get wet, but it's better off to stay warm in the car and then warm up last minute. Well, when I say last minute, it's 30 minutes, but it's not like an hour. So my aim tomorrow is to try and do at least 515 watts for 3 minutes. If it's going to take me 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, it could be, you're talking seconds maybe, you can only estimate so much, but just like I said, if there's going to be one day of the year where you're going to pull something out, it has to be on the day that you call it. And that can be like physically, it can be mentally, it can be a combination of lots of things. But if I'm ever going to do my best ever ride, tomorrow should be the day. And I think, you know, if I come 7th or 5th or 3rd or 1st, if I've executed on my best ever, what I think I can do, you know, I really should be able to do more than what I've done over the last 2 months. I think looking at it with like a clinical head, if I've done 520 watts for 2 minutes up until now, what's to say I can't do it for 3? I know it seems like a long way, but again, coming back to the fact that it's National Championship Day, you should be capable of going that extra. I always go back to when I won on Haytor in 19. A week and a half before, I sat down with a mate of mine and we talked about pacing, and we knew Haytor was going to take like about 12 minutes for the winner. We looked at like everybody else's power data and watts per kilo, and we thought, well, to win we're going to need like 420 watts for 12 minutes. And we sat down and we were like, can you do that? And I thought, well, my personal best for 420 watts is 8 minutes. So can I do it for another 4 minutes? No. When I said, well, if you want to win, it's potentially what you'll have to do. I only actually won by 8 seconds. But if I'd started conservative and not gambled on me being capable of a phenomenal performance way above my capabilities, I wouldn't have won the Nationals, I don't think. The day off, it's finally here. I think I was up at 4:30. I had my first tin of rice pudding, so I've had 2. That means I can get kicked up here. I've had my first coffee. We've logistically nailed it, haven't we?
I feel like we've got this sussed logistically.